Kale Vorn wiped the grease from his hands and looked at the tiny, flickering screen in front of him. The orbital scrapyard hung in the emptiness of space like a forgotten tooth among stars. Ships drifted past, some broken beyond repair, some barely holding together. Kale had seen them all, fixed them all, and yet no one remembered his name. Not until today. Today something was coming that could end it all. The first sign was a sudden vibration through the metal floor. It was subtle at first, like a heartbeat, but it grew stronger, thrumming through the entire station. Kale's brow furrowed. Machines rarely moved this way without reason. He checked the sensors, squinting at the readouts. Nothing showed up. No ships in approach, no asteroids, nothing. And yet the floor thrummed. Something was coming. Something big. Kale's mind ran through possibilities. Pirates? Smugglers? The last freighter that passed this way had barely carried enough fuel to reach the next station. He shook his head. No, this felt different. The hum was alive. It pulsed, measured, dangerous. Kale glanced at the shadows in his scrapyard. Broken engines, cracked hulls, and piles of wires littered the floor. His home was not much, but it was his. And now it felt like that home had a predator stalking it. Far across the galaxy, in the Empress's high palace, a council gathered. Sirithiel, the Dragon Empress, sat on a throne carved from black crystal that seemed to swallow light. She was beautiful and terrifying, her scales shimmering like molten metal. Her eyes, a bright golden fire, scanned the room. Kale Vorn lives, she said, her voice calm, yet it made every dragon in the room flinch. And he dares to fix what the Empire discards. This cannot continue. The chamber fell silent. No one dared breathe. To fix something humans left behind was dangerous enough. To survive such repairs, humans themselves became unpredictable. Sirithiel's command was final. Send Azarek, she said, and the council shuddered. Let him complete the order. Kale Vorn must be destroyed. Azarek, the Void Dragon, was the Empress's weapon, feared in every system. His scales were darker than night, his wings stretched wider than any ship, and his eyes burned with an intelligence that could see through lies. He had obeyed the Empress for centuries, and none had dared question him. He would go and Kale would die. Back in the scrapyard, Kale felt the floor tremble stronger now. Sparks flew from broken circuits as the station shook. The hum became a roar, vibrating deep in his chest. Kale grabbed his tool belt and rushed to the outer bay. Through the viewport he saw it, a shadow moving faster than anything he had ever seen. A massive shape, wings folded tight against its body, moving like it was breathing the very vacuum of space. Kale froze. His mind ran through every story he had ever heard about dragons. Stories from the old texts he sometimes read for amusement. None of them had warned him what a real dragon could do. And this was real. This was not a myth or a story. It was coming for him. The station lights flickered as the dragon approached. Its scales reflected the faint glow from the sun behind the orbiting planet. It moved with a grace that made every machine in Kale's bay seem fragile. Kale's hand shook. He had repaired engines that could fly faster than this, ships that could jump through star lanes, but nothing he had built could stand against a living creature of this scale. The airlock doors shuddered as the dragon's presence drew closer. Kale ran to his tools, grabbing every piece of equipment he thought could help him survive. Sparks from welding torches filled the bay, and the hum of machinery mixed with the dragon's low growl. Kale's mind raced. He could not fight it. He could not reason with it. All he had was skill, intelligence, and a strange human stubbornness that had carried him through worse dangers. Azarek landed on the station deck with a force that made metal groan. Kale stepped back, eyes wide. The dragon's eyes locked onto him. It was more terrifying than he could have imagined. Intelligent, patient, and full of a silent judgment that seemed to pierce his soul. Kale swallowed hard. He could feel the weight of centuries in those eyes. This was the Empress's judgment made flesh. And yet, Kale did not run. Instead, he studied the dragon. He noticed something almost no one did. The armor plating on its wings was cracked, small pieces missing. Its claws, though sharp, bore the scratches of countless battles. Its body was immense but not invincible. Azarek was perfect in power, yes, but flawed in ways that a careful eye could see. Kale stepped closer. His voice shook, but he spoke anyway. "You're hurt," he said softly. "I can fix that." The dragon's eyes narrowed. It had expected fear, screaming, resistance. It had expected flight. Not this calm, confident human, who was not cowering but assessing the problem. Kale's heart pounded, but he moved closer, hands steady on his tools. "You don't need to do this," Kale said. "I'm not your enemy. I don't want your death. I can help you." The air in the station seemed to change. The hum of the dragon softened. Sparks from broken lights reflected in its scales. Kale touched a wing plate, feeling the warmth of something alive beneath the armor. He saw the dragon tense, then relax slightly. For the first time in centuries, Azarek hesitated. Something in the human's simple, bold offer stirred a memory it had long forgotten: freedom. Not orders, not commands, not conquest, but freedom. The dragon tilted its massive head, studying Kale as if trying to understand him. Kale began working, moving tools across the deck with practiced precision. He did not ask for loyalty. He did not demand anything. He simply fixed what was broken. The dragon watched, breathing slowly, eyes never leaving him. Outside the viewport, the stars seemed to hold their breath. For a moment, the galaxy was silent. The hunter and the hunted were no longer simple roles. The human mechanic, small among the machines in the vast station, had done something no one expected. He had stopped the execution before it began. He had turned fear into curiosity, danger into patience. And somewhere deep inside Azarek, the dragon, a spark ignited, a spark that could change everything. Kale looked up and met those burning golden eyes. "Let's see what we can fix," he said simply. Outside, the galaxy waited. Somewhere, the Empress's order still hung like a shadow. But for now, the impossible had begun. Azarek hovered just outside the scrapyard, wings folding and unfolding with quiet power. The vast black of space stretched endlessly around him, stars flickering like distant fires. His eyes glowed faintly, scanning the station below. The human, Kale Vorn, was still inside. Alive. Calm. Unafraid. That alone was a puzzle no dragon had ever faced. Kale was bent over a damaged thruster in the outer bay, hands moving with speed and precision. Sparks flew from the welding torch, illuminating his small face in the dim light. He had not even looked up when Azarek's shadow passed over the viewport. Humans rarely stayed still when death came for them. Most screamed. Most ran. Most begged. Kale only worked. The dragon tilted his massive head, curiosity rising like a tide he could not control. He had been sent to destroy this human. That was his purpose. But now, as he watched the human move, inspect, and repair, something unfamiliar stirred. The Empress had not warned him of this. This human did not fight in fear or hatred. He treated the dragon like a broken machine, not a weapon, not a monster. Azarek descended slowly, landing on the station deck with a thud that made the floor shiver. Kale looked up at the shadow, saw the enormous form filling the bay, and held his ground. His hands did not shake. He did not grab a weapon. He only straightened, wiped his hands on a rag, and said, "You're more hurt than I thought." The dragon blinked, a sound like grinding metal echoing in the empty bay. Hurt. Azarek's voice rumbled in his mind, not spoken aloud. Most humans would have screamed or run. They would have called him a monster. This human studied him, examined him. There was no fear, only understanding. Kale stepped closer, tools clinking in his belt. "These wing plates are cracked. Your joints are stiff. You've been pushed too far, forced to fight too long. I can fix you." Azarek's body stiffened. Repair? No human had ever dared speak to him this way. No one had offered help. Only chains, commands, and pain. The dragon's instinct screamed to attack, to remind this human of his place. But something deep inside hesitated. A memory of flight without orders, of skies free and wide, rose like a ghost he had long forgotten. Kale worked silently, examining the dragon's wings with careful hands. Sparks from his tools danced like fireflies, reflecting in the black scales. "These cracks could tear open if you fly fast," Kale murmured. "The joints need oil and support. I can give you that. No one else would try." Azarek's eyes narrowed, but he did not strike. He had expected fear. He had expected resistance. He had expected the human to beg or fight. But this was different. This human was small, fragile, and yet dangerous in a way the dragon did not understand. Not with strength. Not with claws or fire. Dangerous with calm, intelligence, and patience. The dragon stretched one wing carefully. Kale moved alongside it, inspecting the damaged plates. He touched the scales with tools in hand, pressing gently, adjusting, aligning. The dragon flinched once, then remained still. His massive body seemed to hum with tension, like a coiled spring. Azarek had never let anyone touch him this way. No one had dared. Kale glanced up. "You don't have to attack me," he said softly. "I'm not your enemy. I can help you fly without pain. You won't need to hurt anyone if you trust me." The dragon tilted his head, golden eyes searching Kale's face. Trust. That word was meaningless in the Empire. Dragons served or died. Humans fought or ran. But here was a human asking for nothing, offering nothing, except care and understanding. Something in the dragon stirred, a flicker of curiosity, a spark of hope. Kale worked for hours, moving along the dragon's massive body with tools, oils, and careful adjustments. He talked quietly, explaining each step as if the dragon could not only hear but understand every detail. Azarek did. He listened. He watched. He realized how skilled this human was. Not a warrior. Not a ruler. But a fixer. A creator. A human who could see value where others only saw threats. Time passed, though it felt slow and tense. Every clang, every spark, every careful adjustment was a statement. Kale did not fear the dragon. The dragon did not strike the human. Around them, the station seemed to pause, the stars holding their breath. Finally, Kale stepped back. "That's it," he said simply. "You can move freely now. Your wings won't tear. Your joints won't seize. You can choose your path." Azarek's massive body trembled slightly. He had expected death, not freedom. The human mechanic had given him a choice he had never known existed. His fire rumbled low in his throat, not anger, not hunger, but thought, reflection. He could follow the Empress's command and destroy the human. Or he could do something he had never done before, decide for himself. Kale looked up, meeting the dragon's golden eyes without fear. "I don't want your loyalty," he said. "I don't want you to fight for me. I just want you to live, as you choose." The dragon hesitated, then lowered his massive head to meet Kale's gaze fully. No one had ever looked at him like this before. No one had ever touched him with such care. The centuries of battle, the endless orders, the endless pain, it all seemed to fade if only for a moment. Azarek's wings flexed experimentally, testing the repaired joints. He flapped slowly, then hovered. The human's repairs held. Kale smiled faintly, though he did not relax. The galaxy was not done testing him. The Empress would not ignore this act of defiance. But for now, in this quiet orbital scrapyard, a bond formed between human and dragon. Not of fear. Not of command. But of understanding. The stars beyond the viewport seemed sharper, brighter. The hum of the station softened. Somewhere far away, the Empress issued orders that could not yet touch this moment. For now, Kale and Azarek existed in a world where humans could change the expected. Where intelligence and patience could tame power greater than any weapon. Where the small could hold their ground against the mighty. And somewhere deep inside the dragon, a thought formed, a dangerous, unfamiliar thought. Humans were not what they seemed. They did not fight with strength alone. They used their minds, their hands, their will. And maybe, just maybe, that was why this one human could survive where none had before. Kale's hands were black with grease. His clothes smelled of oil and metal. He looked up at the dragon, still massive, still terrifying, still wild. "Ready to test your wings?" he asked simply. Azarek's golden eyes flickered. For the first time he did not obey an order. He waited. And in that pause, the universe seemed to lean closer, curious what a human and a dragon could do when the impossible became possible. The stars outside the scrapyard glimmered cold and distant, but inside, tension hung thick. Kale Vorn wiped his hands on a rag, watching Azarek flex his newly repaired wings. The dragon hovered above the floor, testing strength, balance, and control. Kale's heart beat fast, but his face stayed calm. He knew the galaxy was not finished with them yet. A warning arrived through the station's comms, a sharp, formal signal from the Empress herself. Her voice, cold and controlled, echoed in Kale's small workshop. "The human Kale Vorn must be destroyed. You have been given the chance to obey Azarek. Finish it." The dragon stiffened. The order was clear, precise, unyielding. His claws itched to follow centuries of obedience. Yet, something in the human's calm presence pulled at a part of him he had long forgotten. Something dangerous. Something he had never allowed himself to feel. Choice. Kale stepped closer to the dragon, holding a small oil container in one hand and a tool in the other. "You don't have to obey her," he said gently. "You can choose for yourself. I won't fight you. I just want to help. You can be free." Azarek's massive head tilted. His golden eyes studied the human's face. No fear. No hatred. Just careful words and steady hands. The dragon had always thought of humans as fragile, but dangerous because of their unpredictability. This human was neither fragile nor aggressive. He was precise, confident, impossible to ignore. The dragon's mind whirled. The Empress's command was an ancient law. Disobedience could mean his death, exile, or worse. But the human's offer was simple: freedom. No chains, no orders, no demands, just choice. That alone was a concept foreign and powerful. Kale moved closer, examining the dragon's massive wing joint. See these cracks? They're fixed. You can fly faster than ever without pain. But that's only half of what I can do. You don't have to fight me. You don't have to follow anyone. You can decide who you serve. The dragon's golden eyes flickered with hesitation. All his life, decisions had been made for him. All his battles had orders behind them, commands etched deep into muscle and scale. But now, for the first time, no one was telling him what to do except himself. The Empress's voice came again, sharper this time. Complete the task, Azarek. The human is your target. Do not fail. Azarek's wings twitched. He could feel the weight of centuries pressing on him, but also the strange lightness of a choice not yet taken. He hovered lower, closer to Kale, inspecting the human with all the intelligence a dragon had. Kale did not flinch. He continued his work, tightening a loose plate on the dragon's wing with care. You see, Kale said. You don't need to hurt me. You can move without fear. You can leave if you want. You don't have to obey anyone who only sees you as a weapon. The dragon's breath rumbled low, almost like a growl, but softer. It was not anger. It was confusion, uncertainty, and the spark of something new. The instinct to kill the human, to obey the command, was strong but weaker than it had ever been. The human's calm and intelligence had challenged the dragon in a way no other creature had. Azarek hovered still, massive wings stretching then folding. He could feel the power in his own body, and yet he realized something he had never considered. Power meant nothing if it was only used for fear. The human's words, simple and unassuming, had shown him another way. Another choice. Kale finally stepped back, hands empty, shoulders relaxed. I won't beg you for your life, he said. I don't need to. I just need you to see that you can choose. You are bigger than orders. You are bigger than fear. You are more than a weapon. The dragon's golden eyes glimmered in the dim light. The hum of the station seemed to quiet around them. For the first time in centuries, Azarek considered his own will over the Empress's. He could obey and the human would die. Or he could refuse and perhaps face consequences unknown. He remembered battles where he had obeyed blindly, wings torn, body scarred, mind dulled by commands. He remembered the humans he had hunted, screaming, begging, terrified. None had looked at him like Kale did. None had treated him like a living being with needs and thoughts. None had given him choice. Azarek's massive claw hovered over the floor. He flexed it slowly, testing weight and strength. His wings beat softly, lifting him higher. The choice was his. The galaxy had expected one thing, but now uncertainty spread like fire in his mind. Finally the dragon spoke, not in words but in thought, a connection Kale could feel in his mind. I do not obey, the dragon said. The words were simple, heavy with centuries of rebellion contained in a single act. I choose myself. Kale's eyes widened slightly, a faint smile touching his lips. Good, he said simply. Now you can see how far you can really go. Outside, the station sensors lit up as the dragon flexed wings that had not been free for centuries. The hum of the engines and the quiet buzz of machinery combined with the dragon's own low growl. For a moment, the galaxy seemed to pause, watching a creature of immense power make a decision that defied centuries of rule. Azarek moved closer to Kale, hovering in place, wings steady. He had chosen life. Not just his own, but a chance at something different. A future where humans and dragons might walk the same path, not as hunter and prey but as equals. Kale stepped onto a maintenance platform, close enough to touch the dragon's side. You can fly anywhere, he said softly. You can fight no one, serve no one. You can be more than what the Empress wants. The dragon's eyes softened slightly. He had never been free like this. The hum of the station, the flicker of the lights, the quiet presence of a human who had dared to challenge him, it all combined into a strange calm. He flexed his wings again, testing strength, testing trust. The repairs held. The human had given him something no one else could. A choice. Kale stepped back, letting the dragon rise higher. The universe doesn't always care for rules, he said quietly. Sometimes what you think you must do is not what you should do. You can decide. You can change things. Azarek's massive body hovered over the scrapyard, golden eyes fixed on Kale. For the first time he felt not like a weapon but like a being with purpose. A being with will. A being with choice. And that choice could change everything. The Empress had sent him to kill a human. Instead he had learned the value of freedom. And Kale Vorn, small, clever, and fearless, had shown a dragon that humans were not what they seemed. They were more. They could inspire, change, and challenge. They could turn fear into understanding and weapons into allies. The galaxy outside the viewport spun silently. And inside the scrapyard, a human and a dragon prepared for the impossible, a future where neither obeyed but both chose. The emptiness of space stretched before Cale Vorn as he climbed onto Azarek's back. The dragon's wings beat slowly at first, testing strength and balance. The orbital scrapyard below them shrank as they rose, the stars growing brighter with each powerful stroke. Cale gripped a ridge along Azarek's back, feeling the raw strength beneath his hands. This was not just flight. It was defiance. Azarek's golden eyes scanned the void, alert for anything the Empress might send. Cale did not speak, only leaned forward slightly, adjusting his balance, studying the dragon as carefully as he had studied a damaged engine. The bond between them was quiet but strong. The dragon had chosen to obey no one but himself, and Cale had proven humans were unpredictable in ways no empire could control. The imperial capital lay ahead, massive, gleaming, and untouched. Sirithiel's throne rose above the city like molten fire frozen into stone. Cale knew the Empress would expect him dead, or at least trembling. But he was neither. He was alive, clever, and riding the galaxy's most feared weapon. Azarek roared once, a deep sound that shook the thin atmosphere of orbiting satellites. It was a roar of freedom, a challenge and warning all in one. Inside the capital, alarm bells rang. Military sensors detected a massive life form approaching at impossible speed. Ships scrambled, but none dared engage. The reports came directly to Sirithiel. "It is the dragon," one commander said, fear in his voice. "And the human, he rides it." The Empress's eyes narrowed, golden fire sparking. "Impossible," she whispered. She had commanded death, expected obedience. Instead, her weapon was free. Worse, the human lived. Worse still, he rode the dragon with calm confidence. She rose from her black crystal throne, scales glinting in the sunlight that filtered through the palace's great windows. "Prepare my guards," she said. "Do not fail. Kill them before they reach the city." Outside, Cale guided Azarek through the orbital defenses. He had no weapons. He had no plan for attack. All he had was intelligence, patience, and the dragon beneath him. Sensors and lasers flared, but the dragon moved like water through rocks. He avoided them not with brute force but with speed, precision, and understanding. Cale adjusted his weight subtly, guiding the dragon with small shifts. Every movement was calculated, nothing wasted. The first ships arrived, sleek and deadly. Their pilots expected fear, but Cale did not flinch. He held steady. Azarek dipped, banking sharply, wings slicing through the void with silent grace. The ships fired, but their weapons could not harm the dragon. Cale saw the fear in the pilot's eyes. Humans were clever, yes, but this human was different. This human had made a dragon his ally. That was a weapon no one could predict. Inside the palace, Sirithiel watched the screens, fury growing. Her plan, her control, unraveling with each passing second. The dragon moved like a shadow, a living missile of impossible size, carrying the human closer to her throne. Her commanders shouted orders, but the dragon ignored them. The human remained calm, riding as if he were born to this moment. Cale felt the dragon respond to his subtle signals. Together they moved like a single being. No one had trained him to do this. No one had taught him to guide a dragon. Yet his human mind, always seeking solutions, always fixing machines and problems, found a way to work with living power. He understood motion, balance, patience, and timing. He did not fear. He acted. Azarek's roar echoed across the capital as they landed in the grand courtyard. Soldiers froze, their weapons trembling in their hands. The dragon lowered his wings, massive and protective, creating a barrier that none dared cross. Cale slid off the ridge and stood before the guards, hands raised in calm surrender, but his eyes were sharp, clear. He was not afraid of them. They were not his enemies. His confidence radiated like fire. Sirithiel stepped forward from her throne room balcony, eyes narrowing. "How dare you survive?" she demanded. "How dare you ride my dragon? How dare you defy me?" Cale did not bow. He did not plead. He spoke simply, carefully. "I do not want to fight you," he said. "I do not want your empire. I only showed the dragon that it can choose like any being should. You see him as a weapon. I see him as life. He chooses his own path. So do I." The Empress's golden eyes blazed. She raised her hand, signaling her guards to attack, but no one moved. The courtyard was silent except for the soft hum of the dragon and the quiet confidence of a single human standing before an empire. Soldiers, even dragons, felt the shift. This human, small and fragile compared to the palace, had changed everything. Azarek lowered his head, eyes on Sirithiel. The dragon's power was immense, yet controlled. He could have destroyed the entire city, ended the Empress, and none could stop him. But he did not. He did not attack. He waited. The human had tamed him, not with chains or threats, but with understanding, patience, and intelligence. Sirithiel's fury grew, but so did doubt. The dragon had always obeyed. Why not now? The human had not only survived, he had inspired. Even her own guards began to question orders. The impossibility of the moment spread like wildfire. A single human had turned the most feared weapon of the Empire into a being with free will, and he had done it without violence. Kale raised his hand slightly, showing he had no weapon. The galaxy changes, he said softly. Power does not come from fear alone. It comes from understanding. From choice. From seeing value where others see only force. The courtyard remained silent. Soldiers could not act. Dragons had never questioned, yet now one stood beside him, massive and alive, waiting for no command but his own. Sirithiel realized the truth. The rules she had relied on for centuries no longer applied. Humans were dangerous, not because of strength but because they changed everything they touched. Kale stepped closer to Azarek, his small frame dwarfed by the dragon's shadow. You taught him freedom, the Empress said, voice trembling slightly though she tried to hide it. You should be dead. Kale smiled faintly. I am alive, he said simply. And so is he. That is enough. The dragon roared once more, low and rumbling, but not in anger. It was a sound of warning and declaration, a voice that carried across the capital. The message was clear. Humans do not always fight with weapons. Some fight with patience, understanding, and courage. Some win by seeing what others cannot. The courtyard fell quiet. The Empress's command had failed, not through war but through insight, skill, and calm resolve. Kale had not destroyed an empire. He had changed it. He had shown that the impossible could be done with intelligence, not violence. And Azarek, free for the first time in centuries, hovered protectively, a living symbol of choice. The galaxy would never see humans the same way again. The galaxy was quiet after the storm of the Empress's fury. Kale Vorn and Azarek hovered above the imperial capital, the massive dragon casting a long shadow over streets that had never seen freedom in this form. Soldiers and citizens alike stared in awe. A human, small and clever, had ridden the deadliest dragon in the Empire, and nothing had been destroyed. Nothing had been conquered. Yet everything had changed. Kale slid down from Azarek's back onto the balcony of the palace, stepping lightly. His hands were still streaked with grease, his clothes covered in oil and scratches from the dragon's scales. He was ordinary, fragile even, but the calm in his posture spoke of quiet confidence. He did not shout. He did not demand attention. He simply stood, and the weight of human ingenuity carried the moment. Azarek knelt beside him, massive head lowered in quiet loyalty, though not obedience. The dragon had made his own choice, but he had chosen to stay close. Kale did not ask. He had not commanded. He had only repaired, explained, and trusted. That was enough. The dragon understood. The Empress, Sirithiel, watched from her throne room balcony, scales glinting like molten metal in the sunlight. Her golden eyes were sharp, but her fury had dimmed to confusion. She had expected fear, chaos, death. Instead she saw calm. A human standing before a dragon that had been her weapon, untouched, alive, and free. Kale spoke softly, his words carrying across the silent courtyard. I did not come here to fight you. I did not come to destroy your empire. I only showed that choice matters. That even the strongest, the most feared, can be more than a weapon. You see dragons as tools. I see life. The silence stretched, then shifted. Guards lowered their weapons, unsure of what to do. The dragons in the empire, bound to the Empress for centuries, hesitated. Something in the air had changed. Humans, fragile and clever, had shown that force alone was not all-powerful. Intelligence, courage, and understanding could alter even the strongest chain. Azarek roared once, low and steady. It was not a threat. It was a declaration. Freedom was possible. Strength was more than fire and claws, it was thought, patience, and will. Kale's calm had tamed the impossible, and the galaxy could feel it. Sirithiel's voice cut across the courtyard, sharp but uncertain. Do you think this changes the laws of the Empire? She asked. Kale shook his head. Not laws, but the way beings see themselves. You command dragons to fight. You use humans to serve. But I've shown that freedom, understanding, and courage matter more than fear. Your laws may remain, but your empire will never be the same. Humans are different. We see value where others see danger. We repair what others discard. We do not just fight. We inspire. The Empress's face hardened, but she could not deny the truth. A single human had survived where all weapons and armies had failed. A human had taught a dragon to choose. A human had changed the balance of power with intelligence and patience alone. Kale stepped down from the balcony, walking carefully among the soldiers and citizens. They stared, some in fear, some in awe, and some in hope. He did not wave weapons, did not shout orders. He only moved with quiet certainty. Azarek followed, massive wings folding, creating a protective shadow over the human. Together they were proof of what humans could do. The citizens began to whisper. Stories that had been told for centuries, of humans as weak, fragile, insignificant, shifted in moments. If one human could do this, what else could humans do? Could they change planets, systems, empires? Could they inspire dragons, tame power, and survive where others would fail? The galaxy did not yet know, but it would. Kale approached the palace gates. He did not enter. He did not seek glory. His work, fixing and creating, had always been his life. Now he realized humans had a gift the galaxy had not seen: courage to act wisely even when fear was everywhere. He looked at the guards, at the dragons, at the Empress herself. The galaxy changes, he said softly. Not with fire, not with death, but with thought. With choice. With the courage to do what others will not. Azarek nudged him gently with his massive snout. Kale smiled faintly. He climbed back onto the dragon's back, feeling the weight of freedom and possibility. The citizens below watched, mouths open, as the human and dragon rose into the sky. They did not roar to conquer. They soared to show that choice, courage, and intelligence were stronger than fear and force. Across the galaxy, news would travel fast. A human had survived an empire's wrath. A human had ridden a dragon meant for death and returned unscathed. And more than that, he had changed the dragon, who now acted with will, not command. Everywhere whispers began. Humans were different. Humans could see value in what others cast aside. Humans could act with patience, courage, and understanding. Humans could change the impossible into the possible. Kale did not care about fame, reward, or titles. He returned to his scrapyard, to his engines, to his tools. But the galaxy would not forget. Dragons began to question, soldiers began to doubt, and citizens began to hope. A single human, small and clever, had shown that life, intelligence, and courage mattered more than strength, fear, or orders. Azarek hovered beside him, wings folding gently. He had learned something the Empress had never taught: choice was power. Kale had learned something too: humans, even alone, could shape the galaxy, not with war but with vision, courage, and care. The stars stretched endlessly before them, silent witnesses to the quiet triumph. The galaxy had learned a lesson, though it did not yet know how far its truth would spread. Humans were not ordinary. Humans were dangerous not because they fought harder but because they thought, repaired, and inspired where others destroyed. Kale tightened his grip on the dragon's ridge, feeling the beat of wings beneath him. He did not need the galaxy to bow. He did not need glory. His work, his courage, and his understanding had already made the change. Azarek roared softly, a sound of agreement and freedom, and together they soared into the void. The galaxy had learned what humans do differently. They survive. They repair. They inspire. They change everything they touch. And now, one human and one dragon had shown that even the mightiest empire could not ignore the quiet strength of the human spirit.